The criteria for getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame is very simple. It is, can the story of football be told without this individual? And I'd like to make that argument that you could not tell the story of football without Roger Craig. In 1982, Bill Walsh was looking for that perfect running back to complement his dynamic offense. You know, that West Coast offense we've all heard about? Well, he found it in the second round out of Nebraska in Roger Craig. I guess Roger Craig's rookie season turned out okay. I mean, he scored 12 touchdowns and helped get his team to the NFC Championship game. In Roger's second season, he had well over 600 yards receiving, well over 600 yards rushing. He had a bunch of touchdowns, and his season ended with a Super Bowl trophy. Roger had a pretty good Super Bowl, amassing over 135 yards and becoming the first player ever to score 3 touchdowns in a Super Bowl game. For you football casuals, I don't know if anybody ever actually uses that term. That's something that UFC fans say that drives me crazy. But for those of you who don't know, 3 Super Bowl touchdowns is not a common feat. Like, it's only been done by a handful of people, maybe like 8, something like that. Jerry Rice has done it twice. Ricky Watters, it's kind of a 49er thing. But Terrell Davis, or is it Terrell Davis? I think it's Terrell Davis. The following season is when Roger would truly do something remarkable. Everybody kind of knows about the 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving by now, but did you know he did that from the fullback position? That means he was in on every play, every offensive play, running decoy, getting smashed by the defense, running blocking plays. He was sharing the ball with Wendell Tyler, 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving. I mean, we're kind of already creeping into the territory of can't tell the football story without Roger Craig. Over the next 2 seasons, he continued to be one of the NFL's top players, over 1,000 all-purpose yards each season, a bunch of more touchdowns, another Pro Bowl. And then we get to 1988. 1988 was special. In 1988, Roger Craig was named the NFL MVP after rushing for over 1,500 yards and having over 2,000 yards total. And even better, he'd helped lead his team to Super Bowl 23. In Super Bowl 23, he had over 170 all-purpose yards and over 100 yards receiving, being the first running back to ever get 100 yards receiving in a Super Bowl game. I mean, season MVP, another record-breaking Super Bowl performance. 1989 would bring another bunch of touchdowns, another 1,000-yard rushing season, another Pro Bowl, and you guessed it, another trip to the Super Bowl. In that 49er blowout win over the Broncos, Roger Craig was again the leading rusher in the game. Again, he had over 100 all-purpose yards. And for the last time, he scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. I think Roger Craig represented the Bill Walsh era, and then when Seifert came in, he kind of wanted to do his own thing. So he brought in Dexter Carter from Florida State. Dexter got a lot of the reps, so Roger's numbers declined a lot that season. And then, as we know, in the Giants playoff game, the incident, the fumble, a lot of people believe that's why he's not in the Hall of Fame. It's from that one fumble, which I think is kind of short-sighted considering the resume that he's compiled. So, long story short, he went on to play for the Raiders for a season and then Minnesota for a couple of seasons. Got another half a dozen touchdowns and added a few more yards to his resume. Oh yeah, and he got to be in a Hammer video. Too legit to quit, but I don't think the Hall of Fame thinks about that stuff. I mean, if you're watching this, chances are you already know that Roger Craig belongs in the Hall of Fame. Why we're relying on a veterans committee at this point is absolutely crazy to me. But the story of football can't be told without Roger Craig. He came in to a system and made that system so much better. And the 49ers saw so much success during that time that he was there. They won 3 Super Bowls in those few years that he was on the team. And that wasn't a coincidence. He was a vital member of those teams. So let's cut the nonsense. Let's get Roger Craig in the Hall of Fame. It's what needs to happen.